Alright, I want to do a video basically on Cynthia G as far as reacting to an older video she made basically. She was trying to claim basically Meghan Markle was anti-black, um, just because she said she was biracial. I found this odd. More than anything, I've heard of this video and I wanted to check it out specifically because I was like, oh, she came from Meghan Markle, and that is a really strong one because usually, when they come for people based off being biracial and stuff, it's usually people who are with black men, not generally people who are in interracial marriages and things of that nature. You know, um, but I just wanted to basically address this whole thing that I saw. I didn't see all of it, but I did see a good amount of it. Apparently, well, yeah, that's all I'm gonna see on it, basically. I don't feel like, before I basically, comment on this video, that's all I'm gonna see. I might see more later, but yeah. Um, so the main thing I noticed was Meghan Markle, being said to be anti-black because she says she's biracial is weird to me because it's like, I don't get, just saying the facts is anti-black to me. That's a very antiquated way of thinking, and I think it's more so the fact that it triggers her that she is, biracial more than anything. And you could hear in her video that she did have a lot of vitriol and anger, towards her. And it's like, what'd she do to you? She just existed and you really hate? But, in reality, it's not that she really hates Meghan Markle, I don't think. And I'll get into what she actually hates. To me, it was kind of odd, though, that she kept ignoring the fact that obviously Meghan Markle would have a different experience than someone who's like a Halle Berry, or a Tia Mowry. You know what I mean? Because their phenotypes are different. She didn't seem to also acknowledge the fact that, if you pay attention, for example, to people like Meghan Markle or like Halsey, you would see, for example, the whole situation with the solstice Christmas situation with Halsey. That is a big example in how a lot of people are treated who are white passing and mixed. And it's like, I don't really understand why anyone needs any explaining to this when obviously they have a hard time fitting in as just black. So, of course, they need to give the explanation that they are mixed and that they are biracial. That's not denying that they're mixed because they literally said they're biracial. What are they mixed with? They're mixed with black. So then obviously she was not being anti-black by saying she was biracial. That's just a fact. And looking at her, you might want to think, she looks different than the average black woman, like, or black looking woman who's mixed, even like a Halle Berry or something. Then on top of it, what really irked me outside of that, because I mean, like, the experience that Meghan Markle probably has in the black community is just different, than anyone who looks black, like her, like me, like anyone, who is actually black. It's going to be different from anyone who's even biracial, because at least biracials look black. She doesn't. And the whole fact that she doesn't look like black people and she looks more white passing, she tried to associate that with her being a white woman or that she had more white ancestry. This is where she goes extremely hypocritical because she goes after her mother, saying her mother looks like a biracial, light skinned woman or light brown woman. I think she said light skinned, and it was weird because it was like if you looked at her mother, and I'll show a photo of her mother, and you look at Cynthia, you could see one in the video that she's in. I literally screenshotted this photo so you could see this is how she looks. And she's saying that some black woman who's darker than her, looks more black than her, is a mixed woman. And she is a black woman somehow. She looks more black than the woman she's speaking of. When we can kind of obviously see she has a much narrower nose, her lips, she doesn't have any lips, she doesn't have any cheekbones. Cynthia G doesn't have those beautiful black features. I'm not saying that Cynthia G is ugly even. I think Cynthia G is pretty, but she doesn't have the, beautiful black features that a lot of women have that are black. So I'm not saying that that means Cynthia G is not a black woman. I would never divide black women up like that. But what I'm saying is she had the nerve to try and say somebody who was much more black looking than her was a mixed woman. She's so disconnected with what she looks like. She's so disconnected with reality. And she tries to basically paint things in a narrative that she likes rather than what reality is. Or at least to hide her own, you know, I guess what they call privilege when it comes to black men, which I honestly don't think exists. Um, I am not of that mentality, but she tries to sell that idea, and obviously, if she sells that idea, she can't tell darker skinned women that yes, she thinks she has something over them. Like, she's got some issues there. Um, and she's basically telling them that without actually saying it. In this video, she also admits actually to being mixed race. She specifically says that she is mixed, like, she says, well, she doesn't admit to being mixed race, she admits to having mixed heritage and claims that she's as mixed as someone who is a mixed parent and a black parent. Many of the time, I've been watching other people's channels who actually claim people with a mixed parent and a black parent are mixed. Now, I don't think that. I don't think biracials, I mean, I think biracials are mixed, but I still consider them more black. If they're like a quarter black, I consider them mixed. 75% black is obviously black to me. But I'm just saying, by somebody's standards, this lady is even mixed. So she's trying to claim that this woman isn't a black woman. Well, there are plenty of people that are claiming you're not a black woman either. So um, she has no right or place to be doing that to anybody. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to address was she also seems to not address the fact that, like, she tried to claim Megan is, like I said, um, more white ancestry, like I said, and that doesn't make any sense in that regard. But she also forgets to point out or show or bring up how her father looks. Instead, she just points out her mother and talks about how white her mother looks when her mother doesn't even look white or mixed or anything of that nature. But she forgets to mention her father. Her father plays a big role in this. You see, if you look at her father, I'm showing a photo of him when he was younger with his daughter, and you see her, you can see racially they look very similar because they look the same. Like their faces look the same. This has not got to do with how much white she has in her. It has to do with which parent she favors. She favors her father. People sometimes look like their father. I personally look like my father. My father's not white though, so I don't have that issue. Um, Many people who are white, they favor their father, you know. And obviously that would happen for someone who's biracial as well. So I mean, like, if you look at biracial people, many of the time, if you look at two parents and they have several children, some will look like one parent, some will look like another parent, and others will look like in the middle. I've seen that several times. So that doesn't really mean that someone has more white in them, especially when people with the same parents can look like the whole spectrum. That's just how genetics are. And the fact that she didn't know this kind of implies, like, it shows more of her ignorance on genetics because she doesn't even understand how genetics work. With two parents, a child could look any way. It doesn't mean just because someone came out white looking that means they have more of the genes of their white parent. That's not how genetics work with two parents. You get 50% either way. Then there's another thing that she said that was really ignorant, and it just shows that, she's coming from a place where she has very little knowledge on, I guess, or common knowledge. I mean, most people understand that there are more races than white and black, but this lady thinks that there's only white and black. She doesn't think Native Americans are an ethnicity. She doesn't think Asians are an ethnicity. And I've seen that in other videos. She literally calls Asian people white, which is just like, something's wrong with you if you're thinking that. I mean, quite clearly, an Asian person is not a white person. If you didn't need looks to determine this, you could just tell by DNA. When we take DNA tests for ethnic background purposes, they get a different result than European white people. So obviously they're not the same by science. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think, like, when she talks on race, she's either talking from a place of trying to conceal her position, or she's talking from a place of complete ignorance. Because, I mean, like, if you don't even know Native Americans and Asians are a separate race from white people, then, I mean, I don't think anyone should be really listening to what you have to say on that issue. Now, does that mean on other issues? I don't know. Like I said, I've done a video up with her and on submissive black men, and some of the points she brought up I would not say were completely wrong, but there were others that I didn't agree with too. And I mean, I have my own perspective on it. So, I mean, like, there's probably something out there that I could agree with her on. But on this regard, it seems like with race, whenever she talks about race, it's just completely wrong. Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about was he was asking basically why biracials are put, they basically have more pressure to be more pro-black. Now, see, this happens specifically with biracials, and there was this guy, Stephen Brown, who did a video on it, on how biracials are basically put to either, be pro-black or get out, basically, situation. Um, which I think is stupid because, I mean, like, no matter what their position is, they're not white people. They're gonna be placed as more like black people. So, I mean, like, really doesn't matter how they kind of have a perspective on this, but that's just my perspective. Um, but I think that's a major reason why a lot of biracial people are pushed to be pro-black. And he said it better than I did, but I did agree with what he was saying in that video. Um, and I think that's an answer to why she was like, why are biracials basically pushed to be more pro-black? Well, that's the reason why. Also, in the video, she was specifically saying, like I said, that she implicated herself as being, mixed. And basically said that she was mixed plus black, which some people would consider mixed. Um, or at least have a mixed ancestry, which I would agree with the latter. Um, and she basically exposed herself in that regard, in my opinion, because she's saying that she is attacking mixed women, even though she's a woman of mixed ancestry. She has a phenotype that she designated as mixed, considering she says someone who's more black looking than her is mixed looking, and she's attacking women like Meghan Markle, who's white passing, on the basis of her being white looking. It's not about her being mixed race. It's not about her being supposedly anti black or calling herself biracial. It's specifically because she doesn't like that she's white passing. And you can see this if you look at her. If you look at Cynthia G, you can tell that she is trying her hardest to look like white passing black and biracial women. So to me, it's not really that she's upset at how anti-black she is or sees her as, different from her. It's not that because she specifically admitted that she's of mixed ancestry herself to some extent. But she's claiming that she's going to hate another woman simply because she is more white looking. It's a jealousy problem. And, honestly, many channels like hers, there is a jealousy problem with women who are white passing and mixed race. Like, this is a major thing that kind of turns me off of brown skin channels like hers because I have a similar phenotype and complexion to her. And I generally find it's embarrassing because I mean, like, why would you hate someone for their phenotype like that? It just means you're unhappy with your own phenotype, you know. And you see this, with other people's channels like Queen Chioma or like Paris Milan, who they obviously look more black looking than Cynthia G, but it's the same expression of hate towards the lighter skinned biracials, especially the white passing biracials. I honestly think that, you know, I kind of wonder, because, I always thought with light skinned black people, like the very light skinned black people, that if they were like in interracial marriages and things of that case, white people, you know, they would usually have less problems from black women. And the thing is about that, I don't know. I've watched her video and I've watched her comments in the live stream, the actual live reaction of some black women. And it seemed like it was a split reaction. Now, some people were like, for example, Cynthia G's color or my color or something like that, you know, and they were more like not going with it because they kind of like understood that obviously Meghan Markle's mom was black. She's darker than Cynthia G. So, I mean, she wouldn't wouldn't be a reason to, try to say someone like that is biracial. And, to admit that would be kind of implicating yourself, which is just dumb, you know. So, I mean, I think some people were not going along with it, but then there were other people who were focused on the whole dark skinned black woman thing and like saying that she's not a dark skinned black woman. Okay, if she's not a dark skinned black woman, then what does that say about Cynthia G? She's not a dark skinned black woman either. So is she some kind of mixed race as well? Because it doesn't make sense that you're just going after this lady for not being dark skinned, but then Cynthia G is alright because she's saying stuff that you want her to say. You see, you're cherry picking just because you're angry at someone. Now the problem is, why are you angry at Meghan Markle when a lot of the time people talk about this type of stuff? It's like usually related to colorism or something. And I always thought that it was like to do with black men. She's not with a black man. So it's like you're basically angry at her for just her existing. And to me, I find those kind of black women concerning. Honestly, I don't want to be around black women like that. Because it's like you're toxic like that, just hating someone for existing. Then you have that in you to do that for anything else. You're not a good person to be around. And I just would never really think someone with that mindset is really, even healthy for themselves, honestly. They should really honestly go to therapy because, I mean, like, you're really just hating someone for who they are naturally. It's got nothing to do with anything they've done. And, in closing, I want to say it's really not because of anything that they've done. It's more so a matter of what they feel about themselves, you know. What Cynthia G feels about herself, what dark skinned black women feel about themselves too that feel this way, you know. And honestly, from my perspective as someone who interracially dates, it's always been like, if you're open about it, I've always been very open about it with women who are like darker skinned. Because, usually that's more helpful in those regards. And I see, like, if that's the thinking of some people, like I said, there's no way to win with individuals like that. So, I don't know, that's all I have to say in this video. Thanks for watching, and bye.